All right, we're getting ready to go ahead and get into our farmer success stories. We always have done farmer success stories, and it's been something to display what our farmers are doing across the state of Kentucky. Also, this first farmer, Miss Jane O'Tiernan, that will be up here, she is, I call it original. When I first started here at Kentucky State 29 years ago. But she's going to come up and tell you about her operation, Jane's Garden Flowers. And also, for the group, just to let you know, Miss O'Tiernan went through the first Small Farm Leaders Institute class. And matter of fact, I know all of them might not be here, but some are out in the audience I know. Y'all stand up to be recognized. Come on, y'all stand up.
Tillman, Frank, Beth. You were in the Small Farms Leadership.
They know who I'm talking to. The Small Farm Leadership Institute group, stand up. Okay, thank you. And there are going to be some more this evening. Okay, at this time, please let's give our undivided attention to Miss Jane O'Tiernan.
Thanks, Edwin. I've never done a PowerPoint before. My daughter did this for me. She says she does this all the time. So I'm gonna say next, and then you can turn it. Don't change it. This is the back of my van when I was getting ready to go to farmer's market in the winter, because you have to load at night. I grew up on a farm that my dad grew up on. We had about 15 acres. He bought the farm next door, and then we had 30 acres. This was Indiana. It was flat. They had 4 cows, we had pigs, we had chickens. My cousins gave me a horse when I was 12. My dad put me in 4-H. Pretty soon everybody in my neighborhood had horses, and we were all in 4-H. My horse kicked the judge. Anyway, I decided I was gonna come to Kentucky because I was gonna be a horseman. And my dad sold a cow, made $400, paid my first semester tuition to UK as an out-of-state student. I went to UK, I didn't stay in horses. I did graduate, I became a math teacher, and then I got a job as a social worker when food stamps first came in. I was married. I got pregnant after 3 years. You can't work for the state in 1970 and be pregnant, especially if you're working with pregnant mothers. So I got fired. I sued the state. You can now work for the state and be pregnant up to the day you had the baby. They took me back. I became a foster care worker with children in foster care. This is a hard job, working with kids that have been abused and neglected. It's a hard job. Some of these kids you get as teenagers. I still have a couple of them that were on my caseload. The oldest one is now 66. I lost my job at Child Welfare 2 because they said I was too concerned about the well-being of the child, not enough concerned about the well-being of the state. I got a job as a waitress. This time my son I had a 5-year-old. My parents are kind of distressed as what was going to happen to me, so they helped me buy a house and had a big yard. So using my shovel and hoe, I put in a garden, and I grew vegetables, and I got a job, another job at Alfalfa Restaurant, which the Blues bought, and eventually they may be catering our meals tomorrow. So I was working at Alfalfa Restaurant, and they let me sell vegetables to them. Then they let me sell flowers on the table. So I did this for a few years, and then in 1980, I got married. At the same time, I started growing more flowers, and they wouldn't all fit on the tables at the restaurant. We only had 15 tables. So they said, go to the farmer's market. I did. I went to the downtown Lexington Farmer's Market. I made $35. I thought I was going to do as well as I could waiting tables at lunch, so I just stayed selling at the Lexington Farmer's Market. My husband and I bought a farm. We had 3 children. We got a tiller. I started farming using a tiller. After several years, you can change the page. Yeah. After several years, my kids started selling with me at the farmer's market. My oldest son was starting college when my youngest one started kindergarten, so they all had a good opportunity to go to farmer's market and sell. My girls started when they were 7. Now this is a picture of my older daughter when she was a teenager helping sell at the farmer's market. The Lexington Farmer's Market at that time allowed a lot of resale. I sold across from a guy that worked at a wholesaler florist, and he would buy out the wholesale roses and bring them to the farmer's market and sell them for $3 a dozen. So I thought, well, $3 must be what you're supposed to sell plants for, $3 a dozen, so I did. A few years later, in the early 90s, my husband and I split, and I was truly devastated. I didn't know what else I was going to do. My kids didn't want to leave school, and I didn't know what else to do, so I stayed, and I started selling flowers and continued waiting tables. And then my friend of mine also and her husband split, and we decided, well, what can we do to make some more money? We're going to sell wreaths at the farmer's market. She said, I'll get the wreaths, you bring the dried flowers. And I get to her house, and I'm looking, and she says, look at these, Sarah's already made 5 of them. We got 5 wreaths already made up. And they're hairy, and they're fuzzy, and they were poison ivy wreaths. Now, what are 2 divorced women with 5 children between us going to do? Well, you're going to take these wreaths, put them in a box, each with a lot of tissue paper, write on them, take them to the market, sell them for $25 as wreaths for your ex. A couple years later, I started going, you can change the picture. This is me at the farmer's market that I'm now in the Bluegrass Farmer's Market. A couple years later, I was going to a Women in Agriculture conference. You can turn the page up. Oops, I skipped a picture. Nope, skipped a picture. Nope, you're too far forward. Back up, back up, back up. One more, one more. Okay, guess we'll stay there. In 1980, 95 maybe, 94, 96, I met the Jenkins family at the Women in Agriculture Conference. The Jenkins family was one of the first organic black farmers families in Kentucky, and they told me about a program that was at Kentucky State University for small farmers. So I started coming. And so did other people that I knew at the downtown Lexington Farmers Market. This probably was the biggest change in my life in terms of what would help you to become a better farmer, since I didn't know what else I was going to do. When I started coming to KSU, the Small Farms Program had just started, and the Tobacco Master Settlement had started, and there were starting to be funds. The Small Farms Conference had us, there were about 20 of us in the beginning. Paul and Allison Weedigger came, and they talked about they had a greenhouse. Look what they built. And then they had how to build it, what to build, how to put it together, and then what to grow, and what you could grow during the season and what types and varieties. So then when the tobacco settlement money came, next page, next. Edwin Chavis here helped me. My house was built in 1930. Edwin Chavis helped me get a loan. It was a 1% interest loan. I built this front addition onto the house. And I turned my old part of my kitchen into a farmer's market processing room. Next picture. The next, when the tobacco settlement came, then I put up a hoop house. It was 20 by 32. This stays warm in the winter. It's very convenient. I grew a lot of snapdragons and other types of flowers in it. I did pretty well because it definitely helped me extend my farmer's market season. Next picture. Then Marion Simon and other people working with the Historically Black University started the Leadership Development Program. Our first program was for 2 years. We got paid a little bit of money. We got our transportation. We went to Baton Rouge to Southern University. We went to Jackson, Mississippi at Alcorn State. They had a great herb program. They were in the middle of nowhere. We went to Houston, Texas, to Prairie View. We went to Greensboro in North Carolina. I got my very first computer from this leadership training program. It was great big. We went back to next year. We went back to Baton Rouge. We went to Tuskegee. This was a super program at Tuskegee with all the work that had been done there. We went to Pine Bluff in Arkansas, and then we went to North Carolina in Greensboro. Then we were taken to Washington, D.C., where we got to meet with Vilsack and the Department of Agriculture, and this was our graduating class. There were 30 people in this class. We learned a lot about a lot of different things, but we all had to have a project. So, the next page. My project was, I'm going to start a farmer's market. By this time, I'd been in the downtown Lexington farmer's market for 25 years, and I decided that several of us really wanted a grower-only project, a grower-only farmer's market. So we started, and sure enough, it took 6 months. It was my project. It was really difficult. There are enormous amounts of rules that you have to follow, permits. This is more than 20 permits that you have to establish a farmer's market. They weren't that as well written out and available. Lexington, Kentucky is a really hard place to have a farmer's market because they're real particular. You have to have a parking space for the farmer in his tent, a parking space for the farmer's car, and 2 parking spaces for the customers. You got to have 4 parking spaces for each farmer. It's hard, and it has to be on concrete or gravel. It cannot be on any dirt or grass. It took us a while, but we did find a farmer's market place that would let us sell in front of a bicycle shop. So here they come pedaling up on their bicycle, and it's really hard to carry a dozen ears of corn and a watermelon, a bouquet of flowers home with you. Right now that we had to move, eventually we had to move. That place got sold. It is now about a half a mile long parking lot of used new cars that are for sale on Richmond Road. We moved our farmer's market to Hamburg Liquor Barn, which is a really good place to be because it's huge and lots of people come. It's right off the interstate and a lot of people go there. This is me at the farmer's market and some other people at our market now too. Next one. Last year, 2 years ago, we won the best place to buy farmers market because it was all guaranteed local in our market. What we sell, you have to be Kentucky proud. You cannot be in our market if you're not Kentucky proud. You cannot buy from anybody else. You have to grow it or manufacture it. You have to make it or grow it. There's a lot of rules. So we let people in that can do things besides the farmers market program. We started off, we took us 6 months to get started to do this. We registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State as a nonprofit. That's all we did. We wrote up our rules, our regulations, and then Dr. Bill Naismith retired from the University of Kentucky, and he joined our market, and he goes, yeah, you guys got to straighten out here, join the IRS, you're now got to get registered, you got to start paying taxes. We're a 501c6 now. We have about 20 growers in our market. We get bigger and littler depending upon the season. COVID did wipe some of our farmers out, and they aren't there. Next picture. I got a greenhouse through the Tobacco Settlement Fund money first. You can see the arch of the smaller hoop. And then about 4 years ago, I got a second hoop. This one has roll-ups, has drop down sides. My theory was that you were going to not have the cold air blowing directly on your plants. I did not get gutters because I would have to have sunk pumps, and I didn't have pumps. I didn't have electricity that I could run to where this hoop house was. So every time it rains, I have to make sure the sides are totally up because they fill with water. It's colder in the winter in the taller hoop house. It's 30 feet instead of 20 feet. It's 14 feet tall. It's colder. I had the Amish replace the plastic this year because all my friends aren't there to help me do it very much anymore. I'm showing you a picture of my farm now. You can see there's 2, maybe 3 heights of flowers. I do 4 plantings of things directly in the garden. I also plant in the greenhouse. That's my grandson. In the first row, you can see the tall row on the right side. That's, my dad said, if you're going to be so foolish as to try to sell farm products at a farmer's market, I suppose they're always going to buy a red zinnia, which is what he always had in our garden because you have to have something for the bugs. Everything was a bug. And you had to have something to feed the bugs. And they didn't call them pollinators. So I always try to have red zinnias for the 4th of July. I also had to try to have white zinnias. I try to have a lot of other white flowers, red, white, and blue 4th of July flowers. So if you're growing flowers, you want to try to target the holidays, which in Kentucky means you need to start targeting Easter, Mother's Day, 4th of July. We're pretty much out of the scale for Valentine's and Christmas. When I was at one of the farm conferences, they said, remember, you need to get your watermelons started by New Year's. And I'm going, what? Wait, we're still got snow. But we were in Louisiana, so it made a difference. My children all had the audacity to grow up, leave home, and escape from the farm. At least they thought they were escaping from the farm. My daughter now has a gardening class that she teaches for first graders because that's where one of her kids is. My son complains that the birds built a nest in his basil and they couldn't eat it. Another 2 of them have raised beds, and one of them says, my mother-in-law does everything. They wrote about us in the paper. The paper seems to think that we're really boring if you're a farmer. This is Beth Tillery, who was also in the first leadership conference program with it says, flowers are prettier than tobacco and they smell better too. She also, there's a picture of her with blueberries. Kentucky State University took us on so many different places. We went to blueberry farms. We learned how you had to cover blueberries, how the birds would eat them. We learned about growing. We learned about growing lettuce. We got fed what was growing in season during the week. The different places that Kentucky State University has taken me, the experiences I've developed, it's astonishing. The network of people that I've learned from through the Small Farms program is just wonderful. Next page. This is how I grow. This is inside my greenhouse. My brilliant idea was I was going to reuse my water lines. I tried them out. You can't necessarily reuse your water lines, as you can tell. I do not grow with black plastic. I grow either on this one, I run a drip line, and then I use landscape fabric, and I plant on either side of the landscape fabric. That's on the outside. My rows are about 150 feet long. Most of these are probably zinnias and sunflowers, maybe snapdragons. On the left is inside the greenhouse, and you can see it's Lisianthus. Lisianthus is a variation on a Texas wildflower. It likes about 10 inches of rain a year, and so I raise it in the hoop house. It takes 14 weeks to grow, and at that time when you get the plants, they have 4 leaves about the size of your fingernail. Next picture. Lisianthus is on the left. In the middle is sunflowers, and I do a lot of zinnias. My email is Zinnia Jane. My license plate says zinnias, and I sell a lot of zinnias. But I also sell Lisianthus. Lisianthus comes in a lot of different colors besides pink. It comes in blue. It's sold as blue. People say it's purple. I say it's blue on the 4th of July. It can be purple the day after. That's pretty much it for what I have to say, except I'm going to say I could not be where I am today if it hadn't been for all the people I've met and the programs that KSU has helped me on. It has been absolutely life-changing. It helped me get all 4 of my kids into college, where they said, gee, we don't have any farm kids. My kids went up east a little bit and they got into good schools. They all got graduated. It's hard to say what makes a success, but it's not just money. You have to be healthy. You have your family that you've raised, and you meet a lot of people. And that's how KSU has helped me. I'm going to say one more thing. If you say, so this is year 45 that I've been selling at farmers markets. I was going to sell my farm. I was going to move up east. Politically, it wasn't feasible for me to do that, as my kids worked for the government and they lost their jobs. I think. Also, farmland farmland is different in terms of value. In Lexington, in Fayette County, you can't divide your farmland to less than 40 acres, and it's $25,000 an acre. And across the river where I live, my land is worth $7,000 an acre, and you can divide it as much as you want. So it makes a big difference.